Good morning everybody and welcome to today's maths lesson. This is my third try at trying to do this introduction, so let's hope we get it right this time. Yesterday you were revising decimal place value and what each place of the decimals was worth. Today we're going to move on to start looking at the relationship between decimals and fractions. But to warm up your brain before we start, I would like you to do the activity that's on the screen now. So it says match the statements to the decimals. So using the knowledge you had from yesterday, can you match them up? So pause this video, have a quick look and come back for the answers. So hopefully you managed to have a go and you can see the answers on the board. If you're not sure, please go back, read the statements again carefully and see if you can match up the ones that you got wrong. So, like I said, today we are going to look at the relationship between decimals and fractions. So we're going to start very pictorially looking at it in a quite basic sense and then build up the knowledge as we go. So my question to you can see we've got read and write decimals as fractions. The first steps to success for completing that learning objective, the first step for exploring those relationships is going to be I can recognise decimals and fractions represented on 100 square. So if you look over here, you can see quite clearly I have 4 hundredth counters, which is going to show 0.04. Now over here I have 100 square, so again it's split into hundredths and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 squares coloured in. So both of these representations show 0.04 or 4 hundredths. Okay, and the fraction 4 hundredths is going to be the same as the decimal 0.04 because we know this decimal place is hundredths and we know that 4 over 100 is also 4 hundredths. So you can see here it's as a decimal and you can see here it's as a fraction that's been split into hundredths. Let's have a go at another one. So here I've got what fraction did both these represent? Here I've got 5 0.1 counters, which means they're showing 5 tenths. And if I look over here, I've got my 100 square and I've got 50 squares coloured in, which I also know is the same as 5 tenths. So both of them show 5 tenths. The fraction 5 tenths is the same as the decimal 0.05. Oh, no, that's wrong. Not 0.05, 0.5, because we know that this is 1 and this is tenths. Okay? See there. See if you can have a go at this one. So shade 30 squares of 100 square and write the part that you have shaded as the 2 fractions as well as the decimal. So I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to colour 30 chunks in for you. So I've coloured 30 chunks in for you. We know that that's 30 over 100. Can you think of what that's going to be over 10? Here we had 50 over 100 was the same as 5 tenths. So what's 30 over 100 going to be? Have a quick think, see if you can guess it. If you guessed 3 tenths, you've got it correct. 30 hundredths is the same as 3 tenths. We've got 3 lots of 10 coloured in. And what is 3 tenths going to look as a decimal, everybody? Have a quick think. You are correct. We're going to have our ones, our tens and our hundredths. And we're going to have 0.3 to show 3 tenths. Right, next one. Describe the shaded part as a decimal. So have a look and see how many chunks there are altogether, how many chunks are coloured in, and then what that might look like as a decimal. You have a go, pause the video, and then come back. Okay, hopefully you've had a go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to count how many parts I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I know my fraction's going to be over 10. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts coloured in. So I have 8 tenths. Now I can write this as a decimal. I'm going to put my place value to help me. And I know I've got 8 tenths. So I'm going to have, why have I written a 2? Let me try again. Oh dear. So I've got 8/10. So I'm going to put the 8 in the 10th column and then write my decimal in. So I've got 0.8. And as you can see at the bottom, we've added a next step into our steps of success where we're describing a shaded fraction as a decimal. Let's see if you can do this one. Circle the fraction and decimal which match the picture. So how many chunks are coloured in? How many chunks do we have all together? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I've got a fraction over 10. I've got 9 pieces coloured in. Now, 9/10 isn't one of my fractions, but I can definitely check what it's going to be as a decimal. So if I write my place value again, I've got 9/10, so that's going to be 0.9. And now we've got to think about what 9/10 is going to be as a fraction. Remember, back here, we had 3/10 was the same as 30/100ths, and we had 5/10 was the same as 50/100ths. So hopefully you've seen the pattern and can see that 9/10 is going to be the same as 90/100ths. And you can check it. Like we did last week, we know to get to, if we have 10, to get to 100, we've got to times by 10. And if we do 9 times 10, we get 90, so that definitely must be the right fraction. See if you can have a look at these ones. Okay, write the shaded parts as decimals. See if you can have a go and then come back and we'll go through it together. Okay, so hopefully you've managed to have a go at counting the chunks and what you've got. I think you'll find this one tricky, but we're going to go through all of them together. So for my blue one here, I've counted that I've got 10 chunks. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chunks coloured in, which I know is going to be the same as 0.5. Okay, over here, I know again I've got 10 chunks. I've got 1, 2, 3 coloured in, which I know is going to be 0.3. Over here, I've got 5 chunks coloured, 5 chunks, and I've got 1 coloured in. To help me, I then need to put that into tenths. So I know that 1/5 as 10, we're going to multiply by 2, is going to be 2/10, which is going to be 0.2. And over here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces coloured in out of 100, which I know is going to be 0.06. Okay, hopefully you've managed to get there. Okay, let's have a look at another one. Let's see what we've got. We've got some fractions, some decimals given to us, and we've got to see if we can find either the decimal or the fraction. So let's have a go. 25/500ths. Now, we were putting hundredths starting over here, starting with our hundredths column. But if we have a 2-digit over 100, okay, you can't have any number in the thousandths column, or that means you've got thousandths. Okay, so 25 over 100 is going to be 0.25 because you've got 25 hundredths. Okay, if you made it 0.025, then we'd say that we had 25 thousandths. Okay, so if it's over 100, it has to finish in the hundredths column. It cannot go into the thousandths column. Okay, 0.07. Let me write that out in my little place value grid. 0.07. I can see I have 7 hundredths, so that's going to be 7 hundredths. And then we've got a half. Now, it's just good knowledge for you to know that 1/2, what the decimal is for that. What's half of 1, essentially? We know that half of 1 is 0.5, so that's going to be a half. I'm just going to show you so you can see that 5 into 100ths. We know that 2 times 50 is 100, so 1 times 50 is 50 hundredths. And then again, if I need to, I can put it into my place value column. Remember, we can't have anything in the thousandths column. So we're going to have 50, hundredths, so 0.5. See if you can have a look at this one and spot the odd one out for me. Which one is the odd one out? Okay, since I've got enough time on this video, I'm going to go through it with you step by step to help you. So it says, which one is the odd one out? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out all of these as fractions and decimals so I can see. Now in this A here, we have 10 chunks and we have 1 coloured in, which we know is 1/10, which we know is the same as 0.1. B, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got 10 tenths, which we know equals 1 whole. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hundredths here, which we know is the same as 1/10, which is 0.1. We have 10 hundredths here coloured in, which we know is the same as 1/10 or 0.1. For E, we already have 1/10, which we know is the same as 0.1. And for F, we know 2/5 is the same as 4/10, which is going to give us 0.4. So hopefully you've managed to see that B is the odd one out because it's 1 whole, and F is the odd one out because you got 4/10, and we were looking for 0.1 or 1/10. Okay, it's now time for you to have a go. So you need to go into the lesson. There are do and think questions. I expect everyone to try the do and the think questions and see if you can find hopefully the relationship between the decimals and the fractions. Remember to put them into the decimal place value if you need to, put them over 100, put them over 10 to help you. You can fast forward, rewind this video as much as you need. Let me know if you've got any questions, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do.